Should we do one last fan take? I've got one more for you boys. We'll end on a fan take. We started on a fan take. We'll end on a fan take. Nadnurb says, listen to this one, boys. By the way, today is just the ADC show, apparently. With people criticising Chovy's World's performance, it has overshadowed Ruler's repeated failures and underperformances of Worlds. He too has been mediocre in many elimination series, going into Worlds as a favourite and rated as one of, if not the best player in ADC by analysts. Notably 2020, 2022, 2023 and 2025, he performed poorly in the final series. He escaped this harsh criticism due to winning Worlds in 2017, but this was before Chovy was even a pro. What do you think of that? Someone's coming at fucking Lord Ruler's head, boys. What do you think of this take?
I love the take. I love the take. I think I think Ruler has a very inexplicable immunity towards the eye of people, to me. Some players in history have that. I know, like Smeb, same thing. Like nobody even watched the games that Smeb, pulled off when it mattered the most. And he was really like losing most matchups. And I think Ruler, this year specifically with Canyon, shared the role of has been the wild card of the team quite often. I've seen what I would say, in tennis, you have direct fouls. He's made so many direct falls, standing on mid wave, being killed, overextending.
Oh, you mean in English we say unforced error? Is that the term?
Okay, so
it's a good term though, yeah.
No. Yeah, it's really a mistake that it's clearly on you. And
that's exactly
directed back for the whole map, right?
Yes.
So if you look by count, right, I would say Canyon probably still has the most, right? Of straight making the team, fall apart for a piece of the game. But I think Ruler is number 2. And it's very interesting to me because most of this is usually fixed by side lanes being so well set up by Genji. So Chovy gets the farm, Keen gets the farm, someone dies on mid, they lose something, and then they re-stabilize the game, and then Ruler can pop off in the team fight, and everybody then praise Ruler as one of the best. But they just omit the part where he dies 3 times, and if he doesn't, the game is already won. And I think that throughout the years, I've never understood why people don't assess skills for player more efficiently, because I do believe that on Enchanter and Hyper Carry meta, nobody can discuss the supremacy of Ruler. I think he's shown over the year. Maybe Deft can discuss, but that's it. But as a well-rounded player for any team, I do think Ruler is a little lackluster. That's why I even prefer Guma myself, because I do believe that when the game doesn't revolve around him winning team fights, he has a lot of fundamental flaws, which I think put a huge setback for his team as a player.
You always come in with the silent hot take, Zabatine, and then I come in at the back here's the thing, okay? I'm not even just trying to be a Chovy outright defender. There is obviously a problem with Chovy and his teams when it comes to the semi-finals, particularly of Worlds. It might be one of the most famous mental blocks of all time I've ever seen in esports. In terms of the decision making, what's going on in the games, and mistakes that happen, right? But on an individual level, I think Ruler and Canyon were worse at this Worlds. Chovy had the worst game where he got blown out by BDD, right, on Azir versus Orianna. By the way, I was actually talking about this with Thorin and someone in Insight. I said, Genji do this all the time. They hand Chovy unplayable draft situations, like the draft that he had to play into the Poppy and the Azir, right? And they're like, okay, you can't make any mistakes. And LCK Chovy doesn't make any mistakes, and he actually manages to do it, and is why he's hailed as one of the best players in the world. But Worlds Chovy makes some mistakes, and it'll cost you a game. But if you go and look at where the other losses came from, Canyon is just atrocious in terms of the thing is you have these lanes where, okay, my lanes are not going to get ganked for, okay? Every jungler in the world wants that. Oh, I'm going to have 3 winning lanes, or I'm going to have 2.5 winning lanes, or 2 winning lanes. Everyone wants that. But Canyon's justification is my decision making and my team fighting and my farming is so good, I'm the one that deserves to be blessed with that situation. And I don't think Canyon, has been that player for about a year and a half. I think Tarzan, I think Kanavi, I think some, Owner. I think some Western players on certain carries have been better than Canyon in recent years. Maybe not as like a full package, but I genuinely think the overall game has like suffered. You know, Chovy gets a lot. He's the big brother of the team. He's like the identity of Gen G, and so you want the praise. You've got to take the fucking. You got to take the dumps, mate. Like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, if you're the man and you're not the man at World, it comes down on you. The guillotine takes your head off. But the actual analysis is like Ruler and Canyon weren't that like good. At Worlds they didn't really hold up their end of the bargain the whole time either. In terms of being like the best in their role, whole like super team like thing. Like it wasn't very super.
And I think it's throughout the year. I agree with the take in the sense of throughout the year. I think Ruler has underperformed when people expected him as number one. Really, like it happened multiple times. Like I think Uzi never disappointed. Even in the losses, for instance, he would lose, his team would lose, and everybody would be like, "Oh, he was the best player in the." I don't think it does apply for Ruler the same as often.
Put it this way, I will say he's definitely not an ADC that was ever being told, hey, you're the weak side, you get nothing. Like that was never happening. Like because they listed all those years while you guys were talking, I was looking up some of the other years to see what did he get in the draft. Bro, in a lot of these series where he loses at Worlds, they're just drafting him all as best champions. Like exactly his best win rates, most wins, like the stuff that's comfort. So that is an angle I do think people really underrate in League. Is if you're the guy that basically we say we're putting the eggs in your basket, you get treated differently. It's like Kira says, if you then lose the game, it's different if we just draft for someone else and you take a normal champion at the end of the draft. We can talk about that. We can look at those ones. So no, but it is this way. I will say it is underrated in that sense. Like essentially the main hot take is right. The Chovy, and it's not even always a pure choke. Sometimes it just doesn't carry the game. Chovy not winning, basically, it just gets all the headlines. I mean, the joke really is, forget Ruler. Canyon did skate by on this one. I think Canyon was shit for the last half of the year, bro. Like, but because they won MSI and won LCK anyway, it didn't matter. No one cared. Everyone just looked past it. And in fact, that's an example of it. There's an example of a fake Gamepedia. Someone will look back on Gamepedia and go, wow, Canyon was cooking in that year. It's like, nah, it was actually one of his worst years, mate. He had years like in Dam 1 that were better than this when Dam 1 wasn't even good. Like, sometimes he was the dude. So I do think Ruler definitely... Here's the problem, though. Ruler doesn't, like, in the game. He just doesn't carry some of them. That's the thing, which is, like, unfortunately another thing about ADC. This is why certain players like the Upsets and the Rexus get the criticism. You can, if you're an ADC and you're just not feeling it or you don't see the angle, you can sort of pussy out in a way that means you won't actually look like you cost them the game because you won't die on the screen. You won't be the one that gets caught and then fried, etc. But, like, I'll give you an example. He is one of the players that sometimes I do worry. I know what you guys mean. He definitely could be super aggressive if he has the right champion, the whole team set up, and it's all about this team fight. But if you just put him in a random skirmish, sometimes actually I do think he will just let the fight happen and he won't have that much impact. Whereas like even some maniac like a Jacqueline would have flashed in, you know what I mean? He would have just gone for it and sent it and said, hey, if I die, I die. Sometimes I do feel like Ruler does that Korean thing of like, I'm going to back off now. I'm not feeling this one. Which is like, again, so actually, you know what? I maybe wouldn't go as hard as this guy. But I do think it's a valid take. I think there's definitely something. Put it this way, it's good food for thought.
I have a last, just to add on this. I think Dogo was a better ADC than Ruler at Worlds.
Why has he done that? Why has he waited?
The hot take.
Why has he waited till the end of the episode to pull that out? I know. It's the idea that we could have ended the episode without him saying that. So the hot take, accidentally, is that this World's Dogo was better than Ruler. Dogo was pretty cracked. I can't lie. He was very good, I have to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's for me, there's absolutely no discussion about it.
Put that in the headline, editor.
100%.
Put it in the headline, editor.
You got any more for us, Aberdeen? Driver better than Zeus? You got that about that one?
No.
Would you call it?
I do not. But this one I have.
Lavrov better than Korea? You know what I mean? On a game.
More cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.